the skill position players. We'll break them down. Tennessee in their final week of spring camp. That has flown by, an Easter right around the corner. So, Caleb, go ahead and pick the top 4 that we can put as a poll question. Who are you highest on? Peyton Lewis has to be on there. I think Boo Carter has to be on there as well. So that gives me 2. I'll ask you 2. Don't play Hot or Cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. What we think of Tennessee skill position players, as they're kind of essentially done. They're going to practice today. They had a scrimmage on Monday, and then they're not going to do really anything for the orange and white game. So I've got some intel for you concerning the Tennessee skill position players. But who are the 4 that we want to put up on the message board that you're most excited about, Caleb? I got Boo. I got Peyton. Who else are you putting up there?
I think we should go Mike Matthews, Peyton Lewis, Boo Carter, and then somebody else.
Okay. Leave it wide open for somebody else. And if I were going to put somebody else in there, despite the fact that he was hurt Monday's scrimmage, it'd probably be Braylon Staley.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll get to Braylon Staley as we're talking about him too. But yeah, I would consider that as somebody else too. But I want to give people a chance to just comment for anybody else they would believe. I'm closing out this poll because, Dave, everybody disagrees with you. Just real quick. Will Howard calling Vols clowns for coming out shirtless was foul, 0%. Fair, UT must take loss on the chin, 100%.
It's painful.
Unanimous consent. Dave is wrong.
Okay.
By unanimous consent.
So. Yeah, that happens a lot, especially in my household. All right, so let me ask you this, Caleb. Let's do it like this. So compared to what you expected before spring camp to where they are now, which is essentially the end of spring camp, because I hate to tell you, they're not going to do a scrimmage in front of everybody at the orange and white game. So let's go down the list. So if you say hot, you think they lived up to their spring camp billing. Okay. If you say cold, they did not. Let's go with Mike Matthews. I'll answer that by everyone I've spoken to.
That's hot.
He had a fantastic spring. I know he held out for more money. That frustrated some people, but he lived up to it. He's bonded with Nico in California. I thought they should have played in Knoxville, but at least he's going above and beyond, Caleb, in order to build that connection with the starting quarterback. So I will say hot. I think he had a very good spring.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very hot. I've heard a lot about Mike Matthews. From what I've heard is he is uncoverable one-on-one. Now, maybe that's a knock on Tennessee's cornerbacks. Who knows? It could be that too. But I hear he looks impossible to cover one-on-one, honestly. And so I am scorching on Mike Matthews. Okay. More than anybody else on here.
Okay. And then, so we both agree.
That's hot.
Yes. All right. And then Chris Brazel the second. Your thoughts on Brazel?
Chris Brazel. I'm cold on him. Not like as a knock, but he didn't there's nothing about him that stood out to make me think he's better than I thought he was going into spring. So I wasn't pleasantly shocked or anything by what he did.
Yeah. Is there a lukewarm option? Because that's probably what I would be on him. And then coming up next, Braylon Staley. That figures to be the 3rd quarterback as Tennessee rolls it out there for the fall, opening with Syracuse. Syracuse names its quarterback starter. We'll get to that. But I'll remind you that Hot or Cold brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
All right, so Braylon Staley is next. This is if somebody misses the final scrimmage of spring camp, it either means they're doing just fine and they don't really need that work, or it means they're legitimately injured. Either way, I'm going to say not closing out. You got to be cold on him, but I think he's fine for preseason camp, and most of these guys are.
Yeah, I agree, but you got to be cold on him because he couldn't show much. But though, Dave, I'm going to say this: I'm hot on him. I mean, I know he was held out for a lot of times, but the way Josh Heupel talked about him, it sounds like he's figured it out and things have clicked. And the only reason that I am less hot on Boo Carter, who we'll get to in a minute, but the only reason I haven't been as gung-ho in the last week on Boo Carter being on offense the way I was in the first 2 weeks of spring camp is because of things I've heard about Braylon Staley. I've heard that he is doing really, really, really well.
Okay. Peyton Lewis.
That's hot. That's hot. That's hot.
I'm telling you, the guy's going to be really, really good. From everything I hear from people, he has taken that next step. I think a lot of people expected that step to be before the season last year, but he had a hip injury and then I think a shoulder. You might want to check me on that. But he was not cleared until just about a week before preseason camp. And Josh Heupel doesn't play a lot of first-year players. He's lived up to the billing. I think he can have a fantastic year. And I believe, no offense to Deshaun Bishop, Lewis will be Tennessee's leading rusher this season.
Yeah, I'm hot on Peyton Lewis. I'm very hot on Peyton
That's
Lewis.
hot.
I firmly believe in him. I had a little bit of doubt after the Ohio State game because it didn't seem like he was able to offset the loss of Dylan Sampson, which I thought was kind of a red flag because it was late in the year and you're a freshman. Yes, I get it, but you're a running back. Running backs shouldn't have to figure things out. But maybe maybe he never got into full football shape because of that injury at the beginning of the year. But I think he's been making a splash this spring.
Yep. All right. What about Deshaun Bishop? I actually think that he has gone from a guy who I questioned in spring camp. Was he one of those guys that was just taking up spring carries to a guy that didn't need to play or practice much in spring camp? So I'm hot on him.
That's hot.
But not because really anything he did in spring. I just think he's to the point where he's proven enough where he didn't have to go out there and practice 120 snaps a day.
Yeah, no, I'm hot on Deshaun Bishop. I'm pretty.
Whoa! I didn't think you'd go there.
No, you know what changed me is Brew McCoy during the NFL Combine was asked about players remaining on Tennessee who he said that Tennessee fans should be high on, and his first name was Deshaun Bishop. And people are saying that he's going to put on. I've heard that they're expecting him to put on more weight this offseason, and that they think he can actually maintain his athleticism if he puts on that weight. We'll see. But if he does, given how hard he runs, I mean, that would be a really good sign. Steve's right. Bishop does run with heart. I mean, Dave, if you think about it, one of the things that stood out, this is one of the drawbacks with Peyton Lewis that we haven't seen yet. Half of Dylan Sampson's success last year was just how hard he ran, wasn't it? And
fearless. Both,
yeah.
I would say heart means that you run hard to me, Steve. I'm going to split hairs with you a little bit. I think fearless, because when you put a foot in the ground and you make one cut, you could easily get the bejesus knocked out of you. And those guys are not afraid of that. And they had taken some good licks. They took some good licks last year, and it didn't slow them down.
It's why everybody became more of a fan of Travis Henry than Jamal Lewis in the late 90s. Even though Jamal Lewis was better, I think you and I both agree Jamal Lewis was better. I don't think Travis Henry ever let more than one. I think Travis Henry never let one person tackle him, did he?
No. And David says Deshaun Bishop is our running back number one till Lewis shows he's better. I don't think that will take long. I think
that might have already happened.
Yeah, I think you pay Bishop the respect of being the starter. And yes, he's running back one headed into fall. And that sounds all good and everything, but it's kind of like when you lie to your kids about Santa Claus. Sometimes the truth isn't really in a big red and white fluffy suit.
No. Very true.
All right. So who else? Hot or cold? Boo Carter. This might surprise you.
That's hot.
Because of my expectations, I think he'll touch the ball about 20 times this year. So based off my expectations, he's lived up to that. Your expectations are greater. So even though you like him a lot and what he could do, you might actually be cold on him. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. I'm cold on Boo Carter because this is comparing where we are on him now to where we were at the start of spring. My hype for Boo Carter was all about things I learned about him in January and February, not spring practice. As spring practice continued on, we didn't hear as much about him. So I still think he's going to be a factor in the offense, but I thought that before spring, nothing changed. And Braylon Staley getting shout outs made me think he'll be a little bit less of a factor. So I'm hot on Boo Carter. I mean, I'm hot on Boo Carter overall. Cold on him relative to spring practice.
Okay, I can see that. I'm actually hot on him, so we're exact opposite. I want to get back to just for a second, Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop. Do you owe it to Bishop to run him out there as the starter? By the way, Steve hit it right on the nail on the head. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. We appreciate that. Do you do you give Bishop the benefit of the doubt, or you strictly, hey, this guy's more physically gifted? Because nothing against Bishop, but there's a guy that's much more physically gifted. His name's Peyton Lewis.
No, you got to go with the more physically gifted. I mean, depending on, but I mean, look, heart can overcome, someone else's physical gifts. So I mean, you go for production more than anything else. I do believe that. I mean, it's the.
But I'm just talking about who trots out there. Like, let's say they think that Peyton Lewis is a better tailback, but it's close because Bishop knows pass protection or whatever. Do you run Bishop out there? It's Syracuse, so it's not like it's Chattanooga. If it was Chattanooga, you definitely run Bishop out there, right?
Right.
He's earned the right to run out there first. But given the fact that it's at least a semi-competent opponent, I want every snap I've got. So I got to put my arm around Deshaun Bishop and say, bud, I love you, but I'm sorry. This ain't working out. We're going to have to go with Peyton.
Here's the question, though. Is Peyton better? I mean, Peyton's better than Deshaun Bishop, all things being equal. But is Peyton Lewis better than Deshaun Bishop if Peyton Lewis does not run as hard as Deshaun Bishop? Without, you know what I mean? Can the effort...
In other words, was Travis Henry better because he ran hard than Jamal Lewis, who didn't and protected himself at times?
In 99, I don't think it's a question. Travis Henry was better than Jamal Lewis. There wasn't even there's no debate.
No,
on that.
Question. One of those guys in that backfield I've been told was a stone during the Kentucky game, but I want
so
yeah, go ahead.
So can the effort factor put Deshaun Bishop ahead of Peyton, make him better than Peyton Lewis?
I don't think so, because there's about 25 pounds of difference, probably 3 inches.
So you think if Peyton Lewis just plays 75% of effort, he's better than Deshaun Bishop? Like, what percent of effort does Peyton Lewis have to give to be better than Deshaun Bishop?
I've never seen a running back other than one, I'm not going to name him here, that didn't show effort. It's because he didn't like the physicality of the game. So I
think I know who you're talking about, because I think we've already talked about him in the past.
Yeah. I mean, as they say in Maynardville, I think that's a mute point. So I don't think that's gonna happen.
No,
I
don't mean
have to run harder, they get the hell beat out of them.
No, I get that, but there's running hard and hitting the minimal level of effort, but then there is the players that run extremely hard. Like we just said, Travis Henry gave more effort than Jamal Lewis. That means Jamal Lewis didn't give 100%. So
right, but in this case, Jamal was the more talented tailback. I just don't think you're going to have an issue. I think running backs pulled themselves out of games, Jamal. I don't think they just run soft. That's a good way to get killed.
Right, okay, but they run hard, but then there's other running backs that run harder. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, okay, another one. Montario Hardesty ran harder.
A reach. Go ahead.
Montario Hardesty ran harder than Arian Foster. Everybody saw it.
Yes.
When he played at Tennessee. So what I mean is, can Deshaun Bishop's hard running harder than Peyton Lewis make him a better back, make him more productive, even if Peyton Lewis is the better back talent-wise?
Okay. Well, Dylan says, yes, possibly. Dylan says, I haven't heard a thing from Star Thomas since he committed. Kind of worrisome. Let me tell you guys, this is the same thing as that T. Lynn J. Dixon or whatever his name was. They're going to go out and they're going to get some guys to supplement. And this is the smartest way to do it, because you have your core of running backs, which would be the Jabari Smalls of the world, the Jalen Wrights of the world. I believe Peyton Lewis will be that guy. Deshaun Bishop will be that guy that you bring up through the high school ranks and you bring up through your program. But you occasionally need some dudes to take up some practice snaps, especially in spring camp, where your running back can basically do only one thing and get hurt. So I'm not saying Star Thomas is a bust. I don't think that's the case, but I think he's a filler running back like T. Lynn J. Dixon, who got in trouble and was out after 2 weeks.
It's Lynn J. Dixon.
Yeah, whatever. Dixon J.
Okay. Yeah, I look, I forgot to mention Star Thomas, so let's just drop him in. Are we hot or cold on him?
I'm fine. I mean, I think he's a guy until I hear different. Is just there to take up practice snaps.
Yeah, I'm cold on him too. I'm totally with you. So now going to it,
but see, these guys used to be. See, I would rather have a Star Thomas though than they used to be walk-ons. Like, who remembers David Yancey, Kirsten Biggers? Anybody remember those names? Yeah, they had big springs. I would rather have a talented guy from Duke than I would have a walk-on gobbling up those snaps. So I would say then
that's hot.
That being said, I'm hot. I don't think he's blown anybody's doors off, but I think he's been solid.
Okay. All right, I can go with that, but I'm kind of cool because I feel like Deshaun Bishop would take those. I mean, just from an effort perspective, that's where you feel like Deshaun Bishop's earned the right at least over Star Thomas, hasn't he?
Yes. Okay. Somebody's telling me they're having problems with the audio. So let me know on that if you don't care on the message board. We seem to be clear on my end, so I'm not really sure. Dylan says, Nathaniel, leave the video and come back and it should work. YouTube has a stupid glitch. Good. So it's not Caleb's fault. He has a job for another day.